It's okay to let people go out of your life, and even if that does mean no contact. One of the things that I really struggled with was their family. But what it was that I didn't feel good when I was around certain family members or people that are really close to me, or even my significant other. Sometimes they would jokingly make fun of people. Sometimes that included me, sometimes it included friends or other people that I cared about. And I just started to get a really uneasy feeling, kind of knowing that I'm like, I don't like this anymore. And then when I tried to bring it up to somebody, I was almost kind of shut down, like, oh, that's just how they are. But if I was like that, I wouldn't want to be like that, first of all. That is not who I wanted to be. That's not who I wanted to be around. Just because somebody acts like that all the time doesn't mean that it's right. Because if, the nice person or the very kind person all of a sudden starts doing those same similar things, you're going to look at them and be like, kind of like, what's wrong with you? And I knew that I didn't want that in my life anymore. And the longer that I was around these types of people, it started to almost bring my energy down because I didn't want to tease people. I didn't want to gossip about people. Sometimes I would have conversations with them if I thought that they could change, if I wanted to even continue the relationship, because there specifically was one person in general where I don't ever feel like they said too many nice things about me. And I'm not saying that I need external validation. They would say one nice thing that, I was a great mom, but then come around and say 15 other things that would really put me down. That didn't outweigh the one good comment that they had about me. And so I had decided that unless it pertained to a certain subject matter, that was the only reason that I was going to talk to them. And it was really hard at first because they would almost start to try to instigate, to trigger me, to get me to respond in any way possible. And it took me a little while, and I was able to at least release the emotional attachment that I had to this person, because that made a huge difference. I kept it to just straight facts. It probably seemed very cold, but in order to save myself, to love myself enough to get out of that, this was what I needed to do. Still to this day, there is no contact with this person. Even though sometimes that they try, I have decided that it is not in my benefit to have this person in my life. You also have to make sure that you love yourself enough to say, this is not what I want. This is not how I want to live my life. And that it is okay to let go of people. Sometimes people come together for a very specific reason. It's okay that once that reason is done, that you kind of go your separate ways. It's also okay that if you are growing, let's just say your partner is not growing at all, because that happens. Sometimes they'll grow at a different pace than you will, and that's okay. Because to me, I want people in my life who are not trying to be better, but are always trying to grow, to become a better person. And that doesn't mean that staying in certain situations is a bad thing, because people can learn and grow in different ways. They can learn at different rates. But sometimes if you're going at the same pace up and down, and then all of a sudden you are springboarding further ahead, and this person is kind of going off on a different track, that might be a sign to take a look at what it is that you want. Are you willing to sometimes drag that person along? Are you willing to and hoping that they're going to change? Because I can tell you that I have dated people in my life for their potential. I really didn't see who they were. Because if I really took a look at it, and I could take a look at what my body was feeling or my intuition was telling me, or how I was feeling around them, probably would have realized that I needed to let those relationships go sooner rather than later. Because that also leads into letting things happen earlier to benefit both of you. Because if you're staying in a relationship for whatever reason, and you just know that it's not the right relationship, but you hang on for years and years, you have just wasted yours and their time, where both of you could have been meeting somebody who really resonated with you. And instead of being upfront and truthful, which is hard for so many people to tell the truth in a very caring and kind and loving way, and it can be done, but it takes away something from both of you. Another thing is that you are more than just a role or a title. And what I mean by that is you're more than just a mom or a dad. You're more than just a sister or a brother or a wife or a husband. I know for me, when that came, it came with my daughter, is I started to realize that I was more than just a mom. When her father passed away, that's all that I became for a good 7, 8, 9, 10 years almost. And then I started to realize that I'm like, you know what? I'm my own individual person. And I have so many likes and dislikes. And for those years, I never realized that I was more than just her mom. I was more than just Lexi's mom. And when I started doing more work and more looking into this, I realized that I had an attachment to my daughter. Even though it was what I considered a healthy attachment, I started to realize that I needed to almost detach myself from her. It's not in the way of detaching myself from a relationship, but I had started to look into it and I had heard about cord cutting. And cord cutting is severing the ties, emotional or energetic attachments that you have to somebody. And when I was actually Googling it, it's more of the time of a negative person attached to you. When I was attending, it was a freedom group at church. During this, they had given an example of attachments and energetic ties that you have to people that you have sex with. That goes into a different thing, very well played out. But I realized that I had an attachment to my daughter. And so I did my own process of cord cutting, kind of looked a little bit into it. It was more of a meditative, mental, emotional, and spiritual detachment from her because I knew that I wanted to be me again. I wanted to be more than her mom. Afterwards, I probably had to do it 2 or 3 times with her, not physically with her because this was all just my attachment to her. But afterwards, I felt relieved. I didn't have that attachment. The feeling of just having to be her mom was not there anymore. And it was such a loving split for me. After that, I felt like the relationship changed for the better. I was able to separate myself from her almost, and we weren't attached the way that I felt that I was. I felt relief. It wasn't only just tying me down, but I felt that it was tying her down. And then when we would get together, it just felt slight friction. Even though we had such a great relationship, it got so much better after I was able to do this. I also had to do another cord cutting with somebody else in my life. They were my significant other at the time, which turned pretty bad, but I still loved him. It was hard. I started to read about codependency, and her name is Melody Beattie. I'm probably saying that wrong, but she talks about codependency. That's a different story, but I realized that I had this attachment to him, and I had to do a cord cutting for me with him. This one almost seemed much more painful. It wasn't the same loving, energetic feeling that I had with my daughter. It was, again, that it was still not me and that I was attached to him, to what he was doing. And I knew that that needed to be severed because the love that I had for him, it was not the same, first of all, but it was deep. It was so deep that it broke my heart, literally probably broke my heart. But cutting that cord, had I not done it prior, it probably would have been a lot worse. And so when you realize that when you have attachments to somebody, whether they are semi-healthy or not healthy, not having that cord attached to them, because to me, when it came to my daughter, I figuratively saw a cord from my abdominal area to hers. So it was almost like belly button to belly button. And cutting that was very loving. Where cutting the one to my significant other was not. It was so much pain to have to cut that and to let that go. And that one took several more times than the one with my daughter. I knew that it needed to be done. Those are probably the only two that I have really done it with because I haven't had that major attachment to somebody with, but it releases the attachments, the energetic pulls that I have to them. And this is never for the other person. Most of the time, it's never for the other person. It's more about yourself. To love yourself, to know that you are more than the attachment to the person. You are more than just a role or a title to somebody. And you have to just remember that it's okay to love yourself first. It is okay to love yourself first. And then to just remind yourself that it's okay to let people go out of your life. Sometimes people will come in and they'll stay for a very short time. Then there are people who will come in and they'll stay years or decades sometimes. And whatever happens, it just is. And it's okay to just let those people go because your time has come, your time has grown, your time has elapsed for whatever reason.